My Christmas bonus, supposed to be 20 grand, turned into 200 bucks. I asked Mr. Henderson if there'd been a mistake. He just sighed. Tough year, kid. Market's been rough. We'll make it up to you next time. I stared at my name on the sales sheet. 4 million in revenue. Yeah, right. That's a load of bull, and I ain't buying it. I quit that night and marched straight into the shop across the street. That afternoon, Mr. Henderson strolled into the store carrying 2 iced coffees. He handed one to me, the other to my coworker, Maya, and chirped. It's that time of year. Bonuses are hitting your accounts as we speak. Have a great holiday, and let's keep crushing it next year. Maya and I exchanged grins, feeling pretty good. Earlier in the year, Mr. Henderson had promised us a 5% commission on all sales, to be paid as our end-of-year bonus. I checked my numbers. I was sitting on a cool 4 million in sales. That meant a $20,000 bonus, easy. Maya, even with half my numbers, was still looking at 5 or 6 grand. It was a happy afternoon. As soon as my shift was up, I bolted over to the new apartment complex I'd been eyeing. I was done with the whole renting game. Each time I'd finally set up a place to feel like home, the landlord would hit me with a rent hike the next year. This apartment's down payment was a sweet 12,000. Just 12 grand and I could have my own place, a little cozy spot in the city. And after that down payment, I'd have over 8 grand left from my bonus. I could even take a vacation. The thought plastered a smile on my face I couldn't shake. Humming to myself, I cruised over to the sales office on my scooter. The agent, a guy named Leo, was waiting for me. Head held high, I whipped out my card, feeling like a queen. Let's do it. I want that one I saw last week. Leo swiped my card a few times, his smile growing strained. This seems to be having some trouble. Miss Chun, want to try another card? My smile wobbled. No way, I just deposited 20 grand in there. Try again. He tried again, but the machine still spat out insufficient funds. I wasn't having it, so I hauled myself to the bank. The ATM screen read, $225.38. That 25 bucks was already in there. That meant Mr. Henderson had only sent me $200. My brain short-circuited. Just then my phone buzzed. It was Maya. Hey Claire. How much bonus did you get? Mine's totally wrong. I only got 100. After a quick huddle, we decided Mr. Henderson had to be mixed up. What do we do, Claire? Maya fretted. I need that money for something important. I reassured her. Don't worry, I'll go see Mr. Henderson and get him to sort this out. Mr. Henderson's place was just a block from my apartment. I hopped on my scooter and zipped over to his building. When Mr. Henderson opened the door, he raised his eyebrows, like he knew I was coming. Mr. Henderson, there's something up with our bonuses. It looks like you messed it up. He cut me off, patting my shoulder. Claire, you've been a great employee. But this year, the market is killing us. My other stores are losing cash. I just don't have the money for bonuses. But hey, next year, when things bounce back, I promise to make it up to you. I knew about his other stores, but our store was killing it. I mean, my sales alone were at 4 million. He'd pocketed a cool million on that alone. Plus, he was the one who offered us the 5% commission in the first place, which pushed us to work so hard. That 5% was something we deserved, and his other store losses shouldn't be our problem. That's not fair. Our numbers are separate, I argued. You promised us 5%. Mr. Henderson's face hardened. Okay, look, Claire. He pulled me into the stairwell and discreetly slipped $2,000 into my hand. I'm giving you 2 grand. You're a senior employee, so keep this quiet. Especially from my wife, okay? This is my secret stash. He turned and walked in, shutting the door before I could even react. I stared at the $2,000 transfer on my phone. It felt like a slap in the face. Like I was being given scraps. That 20 grand bonus was rightfully mine. Maya called me back a little later. Hey Claire, what's up? Did Mr. Henderson say when we get our bonuses? Maya, the bonuses, they're gone. What? Why? I need that money for my mom's operation. Maya hung up and rushed over to my place. Her eyes were red when she came in. Claire, what's going on? How can he do this? He promised us that 5% commission. I told my mom I'd use my bonus for her operation. Maya was crying, tears streaming down her face. Maya's a small-town girl. Her family has always been short on cash. Her dad got killed in a hit-and-run when she was little. They never caught the guy because there were no cameras. Her mom raised her all by herself. When Maya finally got a job, her mom was diagnosed with stomach cancer. The doctors said surgery would drastically improve her chances. Maya was sobbing, her voice breaking. Without the bonus, how will my mom get her operation? He promised the 5%. How can he just go back on his word? She threw herself into my arms, crying her heart out. I felt it in my chest, a hollow ache. Maya always worked hard. She always came in early and left late. She knew about my stomach issues and would bring me food sometimes. She'd say with a smile, Claire, people need to eat. That's what my mom always says. She was 3 years younger than me. I thought of her like a little sister. I'd even given her a few sales leads so she could get her bonus up. I had no idea Mr. Henderson would be such a jerk. After finally calming her down, my agent Leo called again. Miss Chun, are you still thinking about that apartment? I hesitated. I can't afford it right now. He went on listing off its benefits. The great location, how good the price was. I rubbed my temples. I don't have the money, dude. Leo finally went quiet and muttered. Are you sure? That deposit, it's non-refundable. I'd been looking for the right place for months now, and I loved that apartment. The location, the price, and it was on my favorite floor. Leo had said I could pay a small deposit to hold it. I did. I figured my bonus would pay the down payment easy. I gave him a $2,000 deposit. Now that the bonus was up in smoke, so was my money. It was my fault. It's not like I could blame the guy for keeping my deposit. Okay, Miss Chun, I'll give you another week. See if you can get your money together. After hanging up, I was stewing. I couldn't let 20 grand just vanish. I grabbed my bag and jumped back on my scooter, ready to make another visit to the Hendersons. This time, Mr. Henderson's wife, Brenda, opened the door. With a forced smile, I got straight to the point. Brenda, I'm here about the end-of-year bonuses. She gave me a hard glare. What bonuses? We already gave you yours. You got 200, the others got 100. It's done. No, Mr. Henderson promised us 5% of sales as our bonus. That should be 20 grand for me, and 5.5 for Maya. Brenda's face grew sour. Who promised you that? Do you have proof? Be grateful you got 200. You know what the job market is like? You are lucky to even have this job. She scanned me from head to toe, rolling her eyes. I was done playing nice. What's that supposed to mean? Mr. Henderson made a promise, and you're backing out now? How can you be so shameless? If it wasn't for all the effort we put into our jobs, you wouldn't be making these sales. Brenda called our work easy. There were a handful of high-end clothing stores around us. Because of market conditions, 2 had already closed. Our store had the highest sales of the bunch. What she didn't know is that our sales were built from repeat customers like Mrs. Johnson. It took a lot of time and energy to keep them happy. Last month, I spent a week helping Mrs. Johnson plan her birthday. A few weeks back, Mrs. Smith went after her husband's mistress, and I was the one who got there first to do damage. And I always keep a close eye on who is playing mahjong and which tiles they want, so they like me. Sure, they repay my gambling losses, but it's still stressful. I remembered their birthdays and anniversaries. I'd always find something special for them. I knew everyone's tastes and made outfits that they liked. Mrs. Johnson had told me once, Claire, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know how to dress. Brenda only saw me selling clothes on the floor. She didn't realize all the work I put in on my downtime. Brenda's eyes widened. Promising a bonus was just a carrot to get you to work harder. If we didn't tell you that, you'd slack off. We said you'd get a bonus to keep you from being lazy. Brenda's words hovered in the chilly night air, bitter and toxic. Promising a bonus was just a carrot to get you to work harder. If we didn't tell you that, you'd slack off. For a second, the world seemed to tilt on its axis. The roaring in my ears was so loud I couldn't hear the hum of the streetlights or the distant rumble of traffic. I looked at Brenda's smug, pinched face, the pristine foundation, the heavy gold earrings paid for by my sweat, and something inside me didn't break. It snapped into sharp, crystalline focus. I didn't yell. I didn't raise a fist. I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out the sleek, black leather store key Mr. Henderson had given me 3 years ago, when I was promoted to head floor manager, and held it out. Brenda blinked, caught off guard. What's this? My resignation, I said, my voice dead calm. Effective 5 seconds ago. You can't quit. Brenda scoffed, her voice screeching into a higher register. It's the middle of the holiday rush. We have the weekend private fitting for the municipal director's wife on Saturday. Good luck styling her, I said. Last time she came in, she almost threw a handbag at you because you didn't know she was allergic to real mink. Remember? Who talked her down and sold her $80,000 in faux fur cashmere? Me. I dropped the key onto the welcome mat at her feet. Oh, and Brenda? I leaned in close enough to smell her expensive floral perfume. Mr. Henderson gave me $2 grand in cash out of his secret stash an hour ago in his stairwell to keep me quiet. He asked me not to tell you. You might want to check his coat pockets. Brenda's face went from sour yellow to mottled purple in half a second. What? I turned on my heel, picked up my helmet, and walked down the steps without looking back. Behind me, the heavy oak door slammed shut, followed almost instantly by the muffled, shrill explosion of Brenda screaming her husband's name across the foyer. I hopped on my scooter, the cold wind whipping against my visor, and drove straight back to my apartment where Maya was still sitting on my couch, her eyes swollen and red, clutching a cold mug of tea. Pack your locker tomorrow morning, Maya, I said as I walked through the door, unzipping my jacket. We're done. Maya looked up, terrified. Claire, if I quit, I won't even have my base salary. How will I pay the hospital deposit for my mom's intake next week? I walked over, grabbed her by her shoulders, and forced her to look me in the eye. You trust me? I asked. She wiped a stray tear with her sleeve and nodded slowly. You're the only person in this city who's ever been nice to me. Then listen to me carefully, I said. Mr. Henderson didn't just steal 20 grand from me and 5 grand from you. He built his entire lifestyle on the assumption that we're too small, too broke, and too scared to do anything about it. He thinks those high-end socialites come to his shop because of his sign. He's about to find out they come because of us. I took out my phone, unlocked my private contacts, and scrolled past names that held millions of dollars in purchasing power. Tonight you sleep, I told her softly. Tomorrow at 9 in the morning we crossed the street. Directly across from Lux Wardrobe, the Henderson's boutique, sat Maison. It was an older, far more prestigious establishment, clad in dark marble and brushed brass. It was owned by Victoria Vane, a 50-year-old former runway model who had built her empire 30 years ago and now ran her floor with quiet, lethal precision. Where Henderson's place felt loud, flashy, and desperate for quick cash, Maison Vane was subtle. It was the kind of store where prices weren't listed on tags, and tea was served in bone china shipped from London. The only problem was that over the last 2 years, Henderson had been undercutting Victoria by stocking aggressive, trend-heavy European labels and running loud, high-margin promos. Maison Vane was classy, but its foot traffic had dried up. At 9:15 a.m., while Brenda was across the street frantically trying to figure out how to open the store register without my key code, Maya and I walked into Maison Vane. The store was quiet. A solitary floor assistant was polishing a glass display case. From the mezzanine loft above, a tall, elegant woman in an asymmetric navy blazer looked down at us over her reading glasses. We're not open for browsing until 10, ladies, Victoria Vane said, her voice smooth like dark velvet. We're not here to browse, Ms. Vane, I called up, standing dead center beneath her chandelier. We're here to double your revenue before the new year. Victoria Post. She took off her glasses, folded them neatly, and walked down the curved grand staircase, her heels making slow, deliberate clicks against the stone floor. She stopped 3 feet away, evaluating us with an expert eye. My practical boots, Maya's slightly faded coat, and the fierce, unyielding look in my eyes. You're Claire Chun, Victoria said, a small, intrigued smile curving her lips. The girl across the street who managed to sell 3 limited edition crocodile Birkins to Mrs. Johnson in a single quarter. I've been trying to figure out how you pulled that off for 6 months. Simple, I said. I know that Mrs. Johnson's daughter is competing in equestrian trials, so I ordered bespoke leather riding gloves from Italy and gave them to her as a gift. She bought the bags to thank me. Victoria let out a low, appreciative hum. And why are you standing in my foyer instead of hers? Because Mr. Henderson thinks $4 million in annual personal sales is worth a $200 Christmas bonus, I said flatly. And I think my work is worth a 10% commission, a guaranteed base, and an immediate $10,000 cash advance against my first month's earnings. Maya gasped softly beside me. $10,000. That was more than enough for her mother's surgery deposit. Victoria didn't flinch. She crossed her arms, her gaze sharpening. 10,000. Advance is steep for someone who doesn't even work here yet. What guarantees do I have? I bring my client book, I said, reaching into my bag and pulling out a thick, black leather-bound notebook. My personal ledger, kept entirely off store servers. Mrs. Johnson, Mrs. Smith, the municipal director's wife, the entire Wednesday Mahjong circle of the Oak Ridge district. 47 VIP accounts. They don't care about Lux Wardrobe. They care about who remembers their shoe size, who hides their husband's mistress's receipts, and who knows which shade of silk makes them look 10 years younger. I stepped closer and laid the notebook on her velvet glass counter. Give Maya an assistant associate position at $6 grand a month, I added. Give me the $10,000 advance today by noon. In exchange, by this time next month, the shop across the street will be an empty shell, and every single dollar meant for Henderson's pocket will be sitting in your bank account. Victoria looked at the black notebook. Then she looked across the street through her pristine plate glass window, where Brenda was currently outside on the sidewalk, screaming into her cell phone while an angry customer stood waiting by the locked door. A cold, brilliant smile spread across Victoria Vane's face. My accountant is upstairs, Victoria said, extending a long, manicured hand. Welcome to Maison Vane, Claire. By 1 p.m., the wire transfer hit Maya's account. $10,000, fresh from Maison Vane's corporate fund. Maya stood in the break room upstairs, staring at her phone screen, tears streaming quietly down her face. She looked up at me, her hands shaking so hard she nearly dropped her. Ew. Claire, it's in, she whispered, her voice cracked. I just called the hospital. The surgeon booked my mom for next Tuesday morning. They're transferring her to a private recovery room tomorrow. I grabbed a tissue from the counter and wiped her cheeks. I told you I had you, little sister. Now stop crying. We've got work to do. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I knew by heart. Mrs. Johnson. Hi darling, it's Claire. I chirped, my voice dripping with warmth and enthusiasm. Claire. Oh thank God. Mrs. Johnson's shrill, aristocratic voice boomed through the speaker. I went by Lux 20 minutes ago and that insufferable Brenda woman was in there sweating through her blouse. She tried to show me some ghastly polyester blend sweater and didn't even offer me sparkling water. Where on earth are you? I need my gown for the New Year's charity gala. Oh, Mrs. Johnson, I am so sorry, I said, dropping my tone into a conspiratorial, confidential whisper. I actually had to leave Lux. Mr. Henderson was, well, let's just say there were some severe quality control issues with his supplier that I couldn't ethically stand behind. I couldn't bear the thought of letting you wear something subpar to the gala. Mrs. Johnson gasped on the other end. I knew it. That store always smelled faintly of cheap carpet. Where are you now? I am the head director of client styling at mistake.He, right across the street, I said, smooth as silk. And I took the liberty of setting aside a hand-embroidered velvet trunk piece from Paris that just arrived this morning. It has your name written all over it. Should I have Maya pour a glass of Dom Perignon and reserve the private salon for you at 3? Cancel my 2 o'clock. Mrs. Johnson barked to her driver in the background. Claire, save that dress. I'm on my way. I hung up, turned to Maya, and winked. Stage 1. Get the champagne ready. That afternoon was an absolute bloodbath for Lux Wardrobe. From our third-floor floor-to-ceiling windows at mistake.He, Victoria, Maya, and I watched the spectacle unfold. At 2:45 p.m., Mrs. Johnson's black Bentley pulled up. Her driver bypassed Lux entirely, pulled up right in front of our doors, and held the umbrella for her as she glided inside. 10 minutes later, Mrs. Smith's red Porsche parked right behind her. Across the street, through the glass of Lux Wardrobe, Mr. Henderson and Brenda were standing behind their empty counter, watching in horror. Brenda actually walked out onto the curb, trying to wave down Mrs. Smith with a frantic fake smile. Mrs. Smith didn't even glance her way. She strutted straight into mistake.He, shouting, Claire, darling, did you hear what my idiot husband did this week? I need 3 dresses to make him suffer. By 6 p.m., my personal sales for my first afternoon at mistake.He hit $94,000. My 10% commission, $9,400. In 4 hours I had made nearly half of the entire bonus Henderson had stolen from me. As we closed up shop for the night, Victoria poured 3 glasses of vintage champagne in her office. She raised her glass to me, her eyes shining with fierce respect. In 20 years of retail, Victoria said, I have never seen someone pull the rug out from under a competitor so cleanly. To Claire, the worst nightmare a bad boss could ever have. We clinked glasses. But as I took a sip, my eyes drifted back out the window. Across the street, the lights at Lux Wardrobe were still on. Through the glass, I could see Mr. Henderson and Brenda engaged in a screaming match, pointing fingers at each other among racks of unsold clothes. I smiled into my glass. This was just day 1. I wasn't finished until they were completely liquidated. By the second week of December, the bleed at Lux Wardrobe had turned into a full-blown hemorrhage. High-end luxury retail relies entirely on momentum and cash flow. Stores have to buy their inventory months in advance on credit. If the holiday inventory doesn't sell at full price in December, the interest on those bank loans will eat a business alive by January. Henderson had banked everything on the quarter. He had taken out a $300,000 short-term business loan to pack his store with high-end winter coats and formal wear, expecting me to clear the racks like I did every year. Instead, his store was a ghost town. Meanwhile, mistake.He was thriving so intensely we had to hire 2 new junior runners just to handle the fitting rooms. Maya had transformed from a timid, quiet girl into a sharp, confident assistant manager. She ran the floor with grace, managing appointments, keeping client notes, and ensuring every socialite who walked through our doors felt like royalty. Her mother's surgery had gone off without a hitch on Tuesday morning. The tumor was completely removed, and the doctors declared her prognosis fantastic. When Maya came back to work on Thursday, her face was bright, her eyes clear, and her energy unstoppable. That afternoon, while Maya was styling a young heiress in the VIP lounge, the front door bell chimed. I looked up from my tablet. It was Mr. Henderson. He looked terrible. His hair, usually slicked back with expensive gel, was messy and thin. His suit jacket looked unpressed and he had dark, bruised bags under his eyes. He stood in the opulent foyer of mistake.He, looking around at the bustling store, the velvet furniture, and the wealthy women sipping tea, looking like a man who had wandered into a palace after being cast out in the dirt. When his eyes met mine, his lips trembled. "Claire," he called out, his voice raspy. Victoria stepped out from her office balcony above, watching silently. I held up a hand to signal I had it, smoothed down my blazer, and walked slowly over to him. "Can I help you, Mr. Henderson?" I asked, my tone professional, cold, and entirely distant. "If you're looking to purchase something, our men's lounge is on the second floor, though I suspect most of our items might be out of your current price range." He flinched as if I'd slapped him. "Claire, please, can we talk in private? For 5 minutes?" I crossed my arms. "We have nothing to talk about. Claire, I'm begging you," he blurted out, dropping his voice into a desperate whisper, his hands clasping together. Brenda didn't know what she was talking about. She's crazy. She doesn't understand how the business works. "Oh, I think she understood perfectly," I said smoothly. "She called it a carrot. She said promising us 5% was just a trick to keep us from being lazy." Henderson looked like he wanted to throw up. "I'll give you the 20 grand. Right now. I'll wire it to your account this second. I'll give Maya her 5 grand too. Just please, Claire, come back. My shop is dying. The bank is threatening to call my loan by the end of the month if I don't hit my sales quota." I looked at him, feeling an odd sense of detachment. A few weeks ago, $20,000 felt like the difference between having a home and being stranded. Now, I had made $28,000 in commission in less than 2 weeks at mistake.He. $20,000 was the price of my bonus, Mr. Henderson, I said softly, leaning in so only he could hear. "It wasn't the price of my loyalty. You didn't just steal my money. You left Maya sobbing on my couch while her mother was sitting in a hospital waiting room with cancer. You watched me work myself to the bone for 3 years and thought I was too weak to hit back. Claire, get out of this store," I commanded, my voice turning to ice. "Before I have security remove you for trespassing." Henderson stared at me, his eyes hollow with utter despair. He opened his mouth to plead again, but Victoria walked down the stairs, flanked by 2 burly security guards in dark suits. "You heard her, Henderson," Victoria said coolly. "Leave." He looked around one last time, at the buzzing store, at his former star employee, standing tall and invincible, and at his own reflection in our pristine glass door. Then, dragging his feet like an old man, he turned and shuffled out into the cold. The final blow came during the last week of December, the annual Oak Ridge New Year's Gala. It was the biggest social event of the year in our city. Every high society, family, politician, and business mogul attended. Traditionally, the socialites ordered their custom gowns from whatever boutique they favored, and the boutique that dressed the gala queen, the woman voted best dressed at the charity auction, gained massive prestige and guaranteed business for the entire following year. For the past 3 years, I had styled the winning gown while working at Lux Wardrobe. This year, Brenda was desperate. Realizing that Henderson's business was on the brink of bankruptcy, she had personally spent $30,000 of their remaining savings to secure an exclusive, one-of-a-kind silk lace gown from a famous Italian designer. She had practically dragged Mrs. Johnson's main rival, Mrs. Vanderbilt, into their store, offering her the dress at a massive discount, just so Lux Wardrobe could claim credit for dressing her at the gala. Brenda had even posted on her social media, "True luxury isn't about cheap sales tricks across the street. Quality always wins. See you at the gala." When Maya showed me the post on her phone, I just laughed. "What are we doing for Mrs. Johnson's dress, Claire?" Maya asked, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "Are we going with the red satin?" "No," I smiled, pulling out a large, flat archival box from our private vault. "Mrs. Vanderbilt is wearing red. Brenda thinks bigger and brighter means better. She doesn't realize that under the harsh lighting of the grand ballroom, bright red Italian silk looks shiny and washed out on camera." I opened the box. Inside lay a breathtaking, deep sapphire blue velvet gown, custom-tailored with hand-sewn freshwater pearls along the spine and a subtle, cascading train that moved like liquid ocean water. "This," I whispered, "is pure understated power. Mrs. Johnson won't just walk into that ballroom. She's going to rule it." On the night of the gala, the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel was packed with glittering lights, tuxedos, and diamond necklaces. Victoria, Maya, and I attended as honored guests, invited personally by Mrs. Johnson and sitting at her VIP table right near the stage. Around 9 p.m., Brenda and Mr. Henderson snuck into the back of the room. Brenda was wearing a loud, glittery gold gown, holding her head high, trying desperately to project an image of success. She kept glancing over at Mrs. Vanderbilt, who was sitting 2 tables away in the bright red Italian gown, taking photos for her Instagram. Then came the main event. The charity auction and Gala Queen announcement. The mayor's wife took the stage, holding the golden envelope. Ladies and gentlemen, the mayor's wife announced into the microphone, this year's Gala Queen, who raised over $200,000 for the Children's Hospital and blew us all away with her unmatched elegance. Mrs. Eleanor Johnson. The crowd erupted into thundering applause. Mrs. Johnson stood up slowly, smoothing down the sapphire velvet gown. Under the warm spotlights, the dress looked hypnotic, the pearls catching the light like tiny stars, the blue shifting from dark navy to vibrant sapphire with every step she looked like royalty. As she walked up the stairs to accept her crystal tiara, the mayor's wife leaned into the microphone. Mrs. Johnson, you look absolutely breathtaking tonight. Who are we thanking for this masterpiece? Mrs. Johnson took the microphone, her beaming smile shining across the massive ballroom screens. I owe this look, and my entire wardrobe, to the absolute genius of my dear friend Claire Chun and her wonderful team at Maison Vane. Mrs. Johnson announced loudly, pointing directly at our table. Claire doesn't just sell clothes, darling. She cares about her clients, she treats people with integrity, and she is the undisputed queen of fashion in this city. The entire room turned toward our table, clapping wildly. Victoria raised her glass, Maya cheered, and I stood up, bowing politely to the crowd. In the back of the room, Brenda's face went completely ash-white. Mrs. Johnson wasn't done. She held up her glass and added into the mic, and a quick word of advice to everyone in this room. Make sure you support businesses that treat their staff right. Loyalty goes both ways. Whispers broke out across the room. The socialites were sharp. Everyone already knew about the drama across the street. Mrs. Johnson's public endorsement was the final nail in the coffin for Luxe Wardrobe. I glanced toward the back doors. Mr. Henderson looked like a broken man. He turned and walked out into the lobby. Alone. Brenda stood there for 3 seconds, surrounded by turning heads and mocking smirks, before she put her hands over her face and fled the room in tears. By mid-January, the aftermath was swift and absolute. Luxe Wardrobe officially filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The bank seized all of Henderson's remaining inventory, and a giant yellow eviction/liquidation notice was pasted across their front plate glass window. Word got around town that Brenda and Mr. Henderson had turned on each other completely during the proceedings. Brenda sued him for divorce, demanding half of his remaining personal assets, while Henderson was forced to sell his personal sports car just to cover his legal fees and pay off his back rent. They were ruined, socially, financially, and personally. Meanwhile, at Maison Vane, my total earnings for the holiday season hit a staggering $62,000 in commission and bonuses. On a crisp, sunny Tuesday morning in late January, I stood outside the sales office of the new apartment complex I had visited 2 months ago. Leo, the real estate agent, was standing on the porch holding a shiny set of silver keys, looking at me with a mixture of shock and awe. Miss Chun. Leo beamed, extending his hand. I honestly didn't think I'd see you back here after what happened with your deposit. I told you I just needed a little time to sort out my funds, Leo, I said, pulling out my black metal card. Well, the seller held the place for you just like I asked. Leo smiled, taking the card. $12,000 down payment? Actually, I said, holding my head high, smiling at the clear blue sky above the city skyline. Let's make it $50,000 down. I want to pay off the mortgage early. Leo's jaw practically hit the porch floor. $50,000. Right away, Ms. Chun. 10 minutes later, I walked up the hardwood stairs of my new apartment on the 5th floor. I unlocked the heavy door, pushed it open, and stepped inside. The morning sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the spacious living room, the sleek marble kitchen, and the cozy balcony overlooking the city park below. No landlords. No renters. No one telling me I didn't belong. It was mine. Truly, completely mine. My phone buzzed in my coat pocket. It was a picture text from Maya. It was a photo of her mother sitting happily in their sunny living room holding a bouquet of fresh flowers, looking healthy and vibrant. Beneath the picture, Maya had written, "Mom's checkup was 100% clear today. We love you, Claire. See you at work tomorrow, boss." I smiled, my heart feeling full and warm. I walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window, holding my hot cup of coffee, and looked out over the city. 2 months ago, I was sitting on a cold scooter, staring at a bank balance of $200, feeling broken, cheated, and discarded by people who thought they owned me. They thought a tiny carrot was enough to keep a donkey pulling their cart forever. They forgot that some of us aren't donkeys. When you back us into a corner, we don't pull your cart. We break the wheels, take the horses, and build our own empire across the street.